Hello, hi, I'm Monica, and today we are going to learn the difference between the present perfect and also the past simple. Right, so first of all, I'm going to show you some examples of the present perfect in English. Okay, you have an example in interrogative form. Have you ever been to a fancy dress party? A fancy dress party, in case you don't know, it's a party where people wear costumes and they wear like carnival clothes. So you can wear a clown costume, or you can be dressed as a nurse or as a vampire, etc. Okay, the second example is in the positive. She's seen that film twice. And finally, it's a negative example. I've never met Nina's husband. Okay? As you can see, the present perfect is always formed with the verb have or has, if it's the third person. And then you have the past participle of the verb. In this case, you have been in number 1, seen in number 2, and meet or met in the past participle in number 3. You can also use contractions if you are talking in the positive or in the negative. You can make the contraction have becomes VE, so you say I've never, and has becomes only apostrophe S, so you say she's. Remember that contractions are normally used when we are speaking so that we can speak a bit faster, and normally not for writing. We only use contractions in writing when it's very, very informal with our friends in an email, but if not, then we prefer the contractions for speaking. Okay, so let's see when do we use the present perfect. We use the present perfect with the past when we're talking about past things, but we don't say exactly when did they happen, because the when is not really important. Okay, if you look at the picture on your screen, you can say he has read that book before. Okay, we are not saying exactly when did the boy read the book, because for us it's not important. The important thing is that he has read it before in his life. So maybe it was last week, maybe it was 2 years ago. That doesn't matter. Okay, what is important is to know that the boy has read the story, and then he knows what happens in the book, etc. He has had that experience in his life. Okay. Now, a typical word that is used with the present perfect is normally the word ever. Okay, and let's read the example with Charlie, with Snoopy's friend. He says, have you ever known anyone who was happy? If you look at that example, maybe you can imagine the meaning of ever. So if I say, have you ever known anyone who was happy? I'm asking you, have you known anyone who was happy in your life? Okay, so the meaning of ever, it's always in your life. So from the moment you are born until today, in all that period of time, that is the meaning of ever. So if I ask you, have you ever been to a fancy dress party? I want to know if from the day you were born until today, you have had that experience. Okay, you can say, no, I haven't, or yes, I have. All right, so it means once in your life. All right. Now let's see some examples, because normally the present perfect is combined with the past simple, and sometimes we get confused. So imagine a person asks you, have you ever been to Mexico? All right, and you say, yes, I have. Now, that question is in the present perfect. Have you ever been? All right. Now, it's in the present perfect because I am asking you something about your past. Okay, this happened in your past, but I don't know exactly when. It's not important. I just simply want to know if you have had that experience in your life. Okay, and pay attention, because we have again the word ever, and before we said, okay, ever is, or it means in your life, but we only use ever for questions with the present perfect. Okay, so don't try to use ever with a positive sentence or with a negative sentence. It doesn't work. Okay, it's only for questions. All right, now imagine I say, yes, I have been to Mexico. Of course, if you are curious and if you want to know more information, you are going to continue asking me questions. You're going to say, oh, when did you go? And I'm going to say, oh, I went last year. Okay, so your question, when did you go, now is in the past simple and not in the present perfect, because you want to know specifically when in the past. When did you go? And I say, I went last year. I am telling you exactly when I went to Mexico. So the difference between the present perfect and the past simple is that if you don't want to know exactly when, because it's not important, it's simply a question about your past in general, we use the present perfect. Have you ever been to Mexico? Have you ever eaten curry? Have you ever swam with sharks? Have you ever learned how to speak Japanese? All those questions are normally in the present perfect because we don't know, or we don't want to know exactly when, okay? And remember that if you want to know more details about the past, if you want to be more specific, then you're going to ask an answer in the past simple. Oh, really? Oh, you have learned how to speak Japanese, and where did you go? And who was your teacher? And did you like it? And so everything, the rest of the questions need to be in the past simple. Let's see more examples. Look at the photo for a second. It's I think Sophia Loren looking at a famous Hollywood actress, and Sophia looks a little bit jealous, don't you think? So just imagine the situation that you are friends with Sophia, and Sophia is having dinner with some people, and in that dinner your ex-boyfriend is there. Okay, so you can ask Sophia, oh, have you met his new girlfriend? Okay, and imagine the blonde lady is your ex-boyfriend's girlfriend. Sorry, sounds a bit confusing, but I hope you're following me. So you can say, have you met his new girlfriend? And you say, yes, I have. And then you want to ask her, and what did you think of her? And then Sophia tells you, oh, I didn't like her. Okay, so the first question that you ask is a general question. It's just simply you want to know if Sophia had this experience in general, but we don't say exactly when. Have you met his new girlfriend? Yes, I have. But now, of course, you are very, very jealous and you are very curious, so you want to know more. So you probably would say, oh, and what did you think of her? And what did she eat? And what clothes did she wear? And what did she say? And did she kiss you? And all these questions that are all in the past simple, because now we are being specific about the past. We are saying exactly when did it happen. Oh, I met her last night, and you being specific about the clothes she wore. So you can say, oh, she wore a horrible black dress, etc. So the rest needs to be in the past simple. Okay. So as a summary, remember that present perfect is for something that we normally say to talk about a general question, okay, in the past, but we don't say exactly when. All right. Now, if you want to continue asking and answering more details in the past, then you need to use the past simple. If you want to ask about the what, the where, the why, the when, the who, then you move on and you change to the past simple. All right. Another example, a typical dialogue about traveling. You can say to your friend, okay, have you been to China? Or have you ever been to China? And if your friend says yes, of course you want to know more, so then you move on to the past simple. And when did you go? Oh, I went last summer. And who did you go with? Oh, I went with my son. And where did you stay? Oh, I stayed in a fancy hotel. So you see, the first part is always the present perfect. It's a general question about your past, but we are not specific. And then the rest, because we are being specific, then we move on to the past simple. Okay, be careful with the present perfect, because sometimes, depending on the verb that we use, it's a little bit different. So for example, you can use the verb be or the verb go, but then depending on which one, the meaning is a little bit different. Imagine I tell you, Mike has been to Paris. Okay, your friend Mike has been to Paris. Now, my question is Mike in Paris or in Spain now? Okay, if you say Mike has been to Paris, what we mean is that he went to Paris and then he came back to Spain. So when you say Mike has been to Paris, we are talking about probably traveling on holidays. We are talking about visiting a city, but then coming back, okay? But however, if we say Mike has gone to Paris, now look at the participle, now it's different, it's from the verb go. My question is Mike in Paris or in Spain? The answer is he's in Paris now because he didn't come back. He has gone and stayed there, okay? It was not a holiday, it was simply traveling to probably stay there, to move to a different city, okay? So be careful with you have been or you have gone. And I'm telling you this because in Spanish we say ¿has ido a China? ¿Has ido a Argentina? ¿Has ido? And we say ir, okay, ir is go, so I'm going to say have you gone to Paris? Have you gone to Argentina? But remember, go and gone means that you've gone, but you never came back to Spain, all right? So be careful with that. And now, the moment of truth, let's practice a little bit. I want to show you some examples. You need to read the phrases and stop the video, okay, for a few minutes, and then decide if those sentences are right or wrong, okay? I'll show you now the sentences, so please stop the video now, and then we will continue and I will show you the answers, okay? Alright, so now you should have had enough time to do the activities. I will show you now the answers and let's comment on them. So number one, I have never been in debt. That is correct. You can say, I have never been in debt, and that's why you are happy. It means that in your life, from the moment you were born until today, you have never been in debt. So remember that you are talking about something in the past that started from the day you were born until today, but you're not saying exactly when, okay? So it's a general thing. That's why we prefer the present perfect. And the same thing with number two. Dean has just inherited 5,000 euros from a relative. Remember that, again, when we talk about the past, but we don't say exactly when, we prefer the present perfect. And also remember that there are specific words that combine with the present perfect. One of them is just, okay? When we use just, when we use already, when we use yet, those three are normally combined with the present perfect, okay? So it's easy. If you see just, then normally it's the present perfect. Now number three is different. When have you bought that leather jacket? Now in the question you have the word when. So remember, when you talk about when, specifically when something happened, we prefer the past simple. That's why it's better to say, when did you buy that leather jacket? Because the answer is going to be, I bought the leather jacket yesterday. Okay, so it's going to be something specific in the past. All right. Number four, it should be the past simple again, and for the same reason. You have they finished paying back the loan last month. So you have in the sentence exactly when did they finish, and because you have last month, okay, it gives you the clue that it's the past simple. Okay, they finished, so you have to omit the have or the VE and simply say they finished paying back the loan. Number five is correct. We say, have you ever wasted money on something? Sorry that the spelling of money, as you can see, it's incorrect. But it's correct because it's a question with ever. Okay, it's a general question in the past, and you have ever. So remember that we always use the present perfect in a question. And the last example, I'm sure I haven't borrowed any money from you last week. Remember, when you say exactly when something happened, last week, we prefer to use the past simple. So I am sure I didn't borrow any money from you last week. All right. So I hope this helps. Remember that you can do a lot of activities. Remember to go online. Just type present perfect and past simple activities in English in Google, and you can have plenty of exercises. Remember to check our class blog as well for more practice, and I hope this was helpful. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.